What's going on? My name is Amir, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to change your own oil on your C7 Corvette Stingray. So let's get going. Before we start changing the oil, let's make sure you have all the right fluids. So you're gonna need 5W30 for street use. They recommend 15W50 for track use on the C7. It doesn't matter if it's a base model or the Z06 model, and make sure you guys get a badass filter because those are really important. Don't just look at some good oil, but also find a good filter for yourself. In my case, I'm using a Can-N filter, and I'm using Mobil 1 full synthetic, recommended by GM. And there's many different oils out there you can use, but I'm just going with this one. It's really affordable. You can buy it at any Walmart, and it does the job. And on this car, even though it's 840 horsepower, I've been using Mobil 1 issue free for many years. So let's get going on the oil change. What we got to do first is get the car up on jack stands. And what I like to do is I actually built my own ramps out of 2x6s because the car is so low. What I do is I drive on top of those ramps, and then I slide a jack underneath it to get the car to the height that I need it to be, so that I can work underneath it and make sure I get enough clearance when changing the oil on the car. All right guys, so let me pull the car into the garage and get it up on the jack stands. Now, there are many different ways to get the car off the ground and ready for an oil change to get enough clearance. But what I can tell you is be really careful, because a few years back I had a bad experience with one of the cars I was working on, and it rolled off the jack stands. The jack stands literally tipped over, and thank God I wasn't underneath the car, because I hear stories of guys and people being crushed by cars while they're underneath them. So if it's your first time, guys, be really careful. That's probably the most dangerous part of this whole thing. The oil change itself is really easy to do, but this part can be dangerous. And if you're really unsure, if you're not confident, I'd rather just pay a shop to take care of it, because it's not worth a life over a stupid oil change. Okay, so before we get going, before we start draining the oil and all that, make sure you have your oil pan ready, some paper towels or rags, your funnel. Get everything ready and put it on the right side of the car, because when we're done, everything is going to be on the right side of the engine bay. But if your car's not warmed up and it's not ready yet, make sure you start it and let it sit elevated like this and turn on the car. Get it to operating temperature, because you don't want to drain the oil when it's cold. There's going to be a lot of deposits that are going to stay in there, and that's not a proper way of doing an oil change. So what you want to do is start the car, let it run, and then once it gets to its optimum operating temperature, shut the car off, and then we'll go to the next step and go underneath it and drain all the oil. All right guys, start your car and let's get going. Once the car has reached operating temperature, this is the part where we're gonna go underneath the car, get the oil pan, and we're gonna drain the oil. And as far as tools go, you don't really need that many tools. All you need is a size 15 socket and a socket wrench to take those bolts out that are underneath the car. And this car has 2 drain plugs. To get underneath the car, I just use an old rug that I lay on. You can just lay on the concrete if it's not too cold. Others have fancier things than that. We can get ourselves this oil pan. We can grab the oil pan and slide it actually underneath right now. And then grab the socket wrench that you had. And I do want to apologize to you guys right before I begin this, because I'm gonna actually be doing this with one hand while filming with the other. So this is one of the plugs. Righty tighty, lefty loosey, right? That's what they say. So this is so much harder to do with one hand. All right, all right, I broke it loose. Okay, see, that was easy enough. All right, so this is good enough because there's another drain plug, and if some of the oil doesn't come out this one, it's fine, it'll come out of the other one. So put the bolt back on. Don't over tighten though. You guys don't, it's not like it's holding up a f***ing car, dude. So don't over tighten it. Okay, so the next bolt that we gotta loosen and drain the oil out of is this one right here. It's the first one, not the second one, it's the first one. And it's actually right before the oil filter. So let's loosen that one up. All right, there you go. Once this is done draining, we're gonna take off the filter, the oil filter, and that is really the messiest part of it all. A lot of times there's no easy way to take off the oil filter without getting your hands really greased up with oil, but it's part of the job. And get a bunch of rags ready and a bunch of paper towels. Now here's a little trick and a little tip. Open up the oil that you bought and put your hand in there, put your finger in there actually, and get a little bit of oil on there. And the brand new filter you have, just spread some oil all around that gasket, that rubber gasket. You don't want to be screwing on the new filter without doing this. Actually, it could crack and then you have a leak. Put that plug back on. Right there. Okay. Told you guys this one is a little bit of a mess. And then don't just like let it drop because it's gonna spill. See? There's a lot of oil in there inside the filter. And just clean it all up. And you're still gonna have some oil dripping out. No big deal. And don't go crazy, just hand tight. All the stuff underneath the car we're done with. Before I actually drop the car back down on the ground, what I like to do is add a little bit of oil into the engine bay, and this gives me a chance to look underneath it and make sure everything is tightened and there's no leaks. Where actually the plug is, right here. Alright, cool, let's check for leaks. Nice, nothing. So let's drop the car back down on the ground and finish adding the rest of the oil. Now what you want to do now is add the rest of the oil. I'm gonna add this bottle in there and that's pretty much it. But once you added all the oil, it is safe now to start the car and roll it back down from your ramps or whatever. Make sure it's level, and then we check the dipstick level on the car. But once the car's on the ground, the manual says that the car has to get to optimum temperature, and that is the only way you can check the oil level. So we're gonna start the car back up, make sure we check the temperature gauge once it gets to that level that it needs to be at, which is about 215, 220 Fahrenheit. Then we're gonna shut the car off and check the dipstick level. Once the car has reached optimum temperature, you're gonna pull the dipstick that's right here next to the oil cap, and you're gonna check it and make sure there's a hash mark that says hot, and then you know you have enough. If it's below that, add a little bit more. So the last step in this process is to show you guys how to reset your oil life. Make sure you're in T, in touring, and scroll until you get to oil life, and it should say 0%, right? And then hold that little select button, hold that button, and it will beep, okay? And that's it. That is pretty much it. You can start your car up. There you go. The car started up. And see, it says 100%. All right, that is it for today's video. I hope that you found it very informative. And if you guys have the time, check out my merch site, the Street Production 303 website. So it's streetproduction303.com. Check it out in the description. And I want to thank you for stopping by, checking out the video, checking out my channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care and be safe.